Welcome to Revenge with Cade. If you love thrilling revenge stories, hit that like button and subscribe to join our growing community. Don't forget to tap the bell to catch every new story as soon as it drops. Imagine coming home after a brutal day at work, your arms heavy with grocery bags, only to find someone else's car parked in your driveway, again. You've asked nicely, you've left notes, you've even tried reasoning, but your neighbor just doesn't care. What would you do? Would you let it slide, or would you finally take matters into your own hands? This is the story of how I turned the tables on my entitled neighbor, Jake, and taught him a lesson he'd never forget. Buckle up, because this one's a wild ride. My name's Ethan, and I live in a quiet, suburban neighborhood in Ohio. It's the kind of place where kids ride bikes in the street and everyone waves at each other, except for Jake, my next-door neighbor. Jake's the kind of guy who thinks rules don't apply to him. He's got a shiny black SUV, the kind that screams, "I'm better than you," and for the past 6 months, he's been treating my driveway like his personal parking lot. It started small. One day, I came home from work and found his SUV halfway across my driveway, blocking me from pulling in. I figured it was a one-off, so I knocked on his door and asked him to move it. "Oh, my bad, man," he said with a lazy grin. "Just needed a quick spot to unload some stuff." No big deal, right? Except it kept happening. Once a week turned into every few days. I'd find his car there when I got home from my shift at the auto shop, or worse, when I was trying to get my daughter, Lily, to soccer practice on time. I tried everything. Polite requests, sticky notes on his windshield, even a face-to-face where I laid out how his parking was screwing up my day. Every time, Jake would flash that same smug grin and say, "It's just for a sec, Ethan. Chill." A sec? Try hours. One time, I had to park 2 blocks away and haul groceries in the rain because he'd taken up my entire driveway. My wife, Sarah, was furious, but she's the diplomatic one. "Let's not start a war," she'd say. "He'll get the hint eventually." Spoiler, he didn't. The final straw came one crisp October evening. I just pulled a double shift, my back aching from hours under a car, and all I wanted was to crash on my couch with a beer. But there it was, Jake's SUV, parked dead center in my driveway like he owned the place. I clenched my fists, my blood boiling. This wasn't just about a parking spot anymore. It was about respect, or, in Jake's case, the complete lack of it. That night, as I sat stewing on my porch, watching Jake's SUV gleam under the streetlights, an idea hit me. It wasn't enough to keep asking him to stop. He'd already proven he didn't care. I needed to make him care. I needed something that would hit him where it hurt, something that would force him to rethink his entire approach to life. And then it clicked. Jake loved that SUV more than anything. It was his pride and joy, waxed to perfection, always parked like it was on display. If I could mess with his ability to use it, maybe he'd finally understand what it felt like to be inconvenienced. The timing was perfect. Sarah and Lily were heading out of town for the weekend to visit her parents in Michigan. I'd been planning to join them, but I had a last-minute job come up at the shop, a big one that'd keep me in town until Sunday. That gave me a window, a glorious, revenge-shaped window. Here's what I came up with. I'd park my truck right behind Jake's SUV, bumper to bumper, so he couldn't move. Then I'd head to work, turn off my phone, and let him stew. No confrontation, no arguments, just pure, undeniable inconvenience. If he wanted to play the "it's just for a sec" game, I'd show him what a real delay felt like. I wasn't breaking any laws, it was my driveway, after all. And if Jake wanted to cry about it, he'd have to wait until I got back. I spent the next hour planning my plan. My old Ford pickup wasn't fancy, but it was heavy and wide, perfect for boxing in Jake's SUV. I'd leave it there all weekend, maybe even stretch it to Monday if I felt like it. The thought of Jake pacing around his precious car, unable to do anything, made me grin. Revenge doesn't get sweeter than that. Friday morning, I put the plan into motion. Jake's SUV was still in my driveway, just as I'd expected. I pulled my truck in behind it so close our bumpers were practically kissing. I locked up, grabbed my work bag, and headed to the shop. Before I left, I took one last look at the setup. Jake's SUV, trapped like a rat, with my truck standing guard. It felt good. Real good. By noon, my phone was blowing up. Missed calls, voicemails, texts, all from Jake. The first text read, "Yo, Ethan, what's the deal? Move your truck." Then, an hour later, "Dude, what FT? I need my car." By the third text, he was losing it. "This isn't funny, man. I'm gonna call the cops." I chuckled and powered off my phone. Call the cops? For what? Parking in my own driveway? Good luck with that, Jake. I didn't check my phone again until Saturday night. There were 17 missed calls and a string of texts that went from annoyed to straight up unhinged. One said, "You're gonna regret this." Another promised to have a talk with me when I got back. I could picture him, red-faced and pacing, probably kicking his own tires in frustration. Sarah called me that night, and I filled her in. She laughed so hard she had to put the phone down. "You're evil," she said when she finally caught her breath, "but he deserves it." By Sunday, the voicemails had taken a new tone. Jake was trying to play nice now. "Hey, Ethan, look, I'm sorry, okay? Let's talk this out. Just move your truck." I leaned back in my chair at the shop, sipping my coffee, and let him sweat. I wasn't ready to let him off the hook just yet. The guy needed to learn a lesson, and I was happy to be his teacher. I got home late Sunday night, feeling like a king. Jake's SUV was still there, of course, and my truck was still playing Sentinel. I half expected to find him waiting on my porch with a baseball bat, but the street was quiet. I pulled my truck into the garage, finally freeing Jake's car, and went inside to crash. Monday morning, I was out front washing my truck when Jake came storming over. His face was a mix of rage and exhaustion, like he hadn't slept all weekend. "What the hell, man?" he started, waving his arms. "You trapped my car for 3 days. I missed a job interview. You know how messed up that is." I set down my sponge and looked him dead in the eye. "You know what's messed up, Jake? Parking in my driveway for 6 months after I've asked you to stop." He opened his mouth, then closed it. For once, he didn't have a comeback. I went on. "You think it's no big deal, but it is. I've got a kid to get to practice, groceries to haul, a life to live, and you've been making it harder for no reason. So yeah, I parked you in. Maybe now you get how it feels." Jake stood there, his jaw tight. I braced for him to take a swing, but instead, he just nodded slowly. "All right," he said finally. "I get it. I didn't think it was a big deal. I'm sorry." I wasn't expecting an apology, and honestly, it threw me. But it sounded real, not like his usual BS. "Apology accepted," I said. "Just keep your car out of my driveway, and we're good." He nodded again and walked off. Since then, he's parked in his own driveway, or on the street when his buddies are over. No more just for a sec excuses. I don't know if it was the weekend of being trapped or our little talk, but something finally got through to him. So, that's the story of how I took back my driveway and gave Jake a taste of his own medicine. Sometimes you've got to fight fire with fire, or, in this case, a truck with a truck. If you've got a neighbor like Jake, don't let them walk all over you. Stand your ground, get creative, and show them what respect looks like. Got a story of your own about dealing with an entitled jerk? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear how you got even. And if you enjoyed this tale, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories of sweet, sweet revenge. Until next time, keep your driveway clear and your comeback strong.